Hey guys, this is David with Savvy Organics Farm. A friend here from Nick. He's delivering a new Yanmar T235 tractor for us for our farm. And Nick's going to show us all about it and how to use it. And went down and got this. I've been researching these tractors for quite a while and comparing it to some of the other ones. It's just the one I decided on. So I'm taking delivery today. See how it goes.
Once you're on there, you need to lock it in place. Okay, now it's sitting down in there. So pretty straightforward. You know, this is your 6-foot shredder. It's the tractor. So to connect to the PTO drive line, what you've got here, we hook it up there just for storage. But you've got a push pin style, which you probably have on your current implements, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Teeth and slide it on.
Yeah, that's easier said than done usually. There we go. But I don't know, have you been using the shields on your current implements?
They usually fly off at some point.
Yeah, they usually do.
And they're usually in the way. So I don't mind it too much.
Okay.
Push it up there until it snaps.
Yep, but
okay.
For the time being, until you get rid of your shields, hook your chain to there, okay?
Okay.
That keeps that shield from spinning.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
It's designed to not spin, right? So this will basically get tight here, then your shaft will spin, but the shield won't.
The shaft will spin inside that plastic housing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, it's got a little plastic bearing in there, right? So it's got a little nylon bearing, and it'll sit there and spin and spin and spin.
Okay.
So you're going to take gear lube in your gearbox. The key thing is to check it every so often. It's got a little check plug on the back.
Okay.
So right here. So that's the checkpoint.
Okay.
So it doesn't take much gear lube, right? It just takes enough just to kind of run it.
Fill the bottom of the housing.
Fill the bottom of the housing.
Okay.
So and like I say, check it every so often just to make sure. You'll also probably notice, though, if you do have a leak, you'll probably start to see just a little bit of oil pooling there. And that's the hole that you're going to put your socket down in when you want to go change the blades, right?
Okay. All right.
You'll spin that disc around and it'll line those bolt holes. Yep.
Gotcha.
So your quick hitch going on is easy. You're good there. So we kind of went over the tractor a little bit at the shop, but just to kind of go over it again. Your 4-wheel drive is selectable. It's probably in a bind right now, so it's not. Oh, there it goes. So off and on, real simple.
Okay.
3-range hydrostat. 1, basically, I'd be doing my tiller work in 1, okay. Right? Mm-hmm. 2, great for loader and shredding applications. And 3 is going to be your roading around the farm, right?
Okay.
For your intents and purposes, for what we're doing right now, leave it in the reverse PTO option. This is the mid and rear, and that's the mid, but right now we don't use the mid.
I'm not familiar with that.
Right, so that's the shaft that's down here in case you ever want to add a belly mower. It's already in place.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's already got that available. You're familiar with the 3-point operations. This one does have an electric PTO, so you just kick it on, right? And that's going to start your PTO. Now this button behind it is for the mower deck, right, which we're not using. And that's why it's important to keep it in rear PTO, because in mid PTO, it's designed to where when you go to back up, it will kick the PTO out, like in the modern mowers, right?
Okay,
it's got a safety switch. So this is a safety override. But if you leave it in rear PTO, it's not going to be an issue.
Okay.
Because when you're shredding, you'd like to be able to back up into corners and things, right?
Yeah.
So moving on over, this is your cruise control. When you push this down, and it'll lock it in place, right?
Gotcha.
And so
okay.
your brake will also kick it out.
Okay.
Okay,
all
so
right.
anything will kick it out. Moving over here, and so everything is color coded. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but everything orange has to do with the drive system, right?
Okay.
So everything orange, like this is gear shift, this is four-wheel drive, this is throttle, this is cruise control, this is brake. So anything orange has to do with the drive system.
All right.
Anything yellow has to do with the PTO,
Okay.
right? And so anything black has to do with hydraulics, right?
Okay.
So it's pretty straightforward. You've got a differential lock pedal here as well. You may never find a use for that, but it's there if you need it. And then you've also got a knob here. And so this is not only a lockout for your 3-point, but it'll speed up and slow down the reaction of that 3-point. So you know, understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so how fast it comes up and
Exactly,
down.
exactly. So some implements you want them to come down fast, and some implements you'd like to slow them down, so maybe you're not banging around, right? So with this, it's got a lot of tail weight back there, so you might find like, hey, I want to go ahead and crank that down just a little bit, just to slow that down some, just for a little bit smoother engagement. Now with the box blade, you're probably going to want to run it wide open, right? Because you want as quick of engagement with the box blade as you can get, right? You want to get right down in there and get to the dirt, right?
Okay.
So that's something to keep in mind. So we've talked about the gear shift, we've talked about all these things, we've talked about the park brake. I think we're pretty well good there. We talked a little bit about having float, which if you can see what float does, because once I hit it, it'll automatically let it all the way down. And so what that's good for is back dragging. It'll just let it float with the contour of the ground. So you talked about maybe putting out some mulch and things, and what that's going to allow you to do is kind of just let it float, and it'll move it. And the angle of the blade will also determine how much material it takes with it, right?
Okay.
So you'll be able to figure that out. Just play with it some, and then you'll get the hang of it. We talked a little bit about the emission system, right? And so this button right here is the emission system. At about 50 hours, it's going to come on, and this is going to start blinking, this little puffer light, right? And just push and hold this for 5 seconds, and it's going to start its regen process. It's best to do this when you've got some work left to do, right? So just continue to operate the tractor as normal. If you've got 20 minutes worth of shredding or something, it's going to do its thing, and you're not going to have to do anything, right? Just go out, keep shredding, keep running your tractor as normal. But yeah, and you can also do it stationary. You can sit still and let it do its thing as well. But if at all possible, let it continue its cycle until it's done. Now, if you have to shut it off, you have to shut it off. It's not going to kill anything. You'll just have to restart the process when you restart the tractor.
Okay.
So don't think it's not horrible. But when it does ask for it, do find a time to do it, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward. We have not had any issues, and we've got a lot of these out. So that it really works quite well. Just like I say, continue to operate it. I mean, if you got a shredder or a tiller hooked up, just keep running the tractor, right?
Yep.
So start the process, keep running the tractor for 20 minutes, and it'll take care of itself. A little bit more throttle always helps, but like if you're using a tiller, you're going to be using a little RPM anyway, so it's going to be perfect.
Okay. Gotcha.
So
This one's for the steering wheel?
that's for the steering wheel. Yeah, so that's a tilt. Yep. Doesn't tilt a whole lot, but you got a little bit there. So it maybe can help just a little bit, a little bit more comfortable.
Okay.
You've adjusted the top length before, have you not? Probably, because right now
This
the
piece
angle.
right here?
Yeah, because the angle, and that's a lock. So if you thread this on,
all the way down to
yeah.
Is there a typical position?
It all depends on the pitch of the implement you're trying to achieve. With a box blade, you might actually find
cut or rake.
Exactly. So you might actually find that some pitch helps, right? Helps you dig down a little deeper. With a shredder, the key thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to get a level cut or a slightly pitched up cut. So the way a shredder works is if you pitch it like this, it's going to do more of a mulching action. And now we're talking 1/2 inch, right? We're not talking 4 inches in front and nothing in back.
Okay.
If you pitch it forward a little bit, it's going to do a little bit more mulching action. If you pitch it back, or you pitch it to the, slope it to the front, it's going to actually do a little bit better job shredding and not require as much power, right? So if you're in tall weeds, definitely do it like this. And also parallel, we'll do kind of a mix of both, right? So it's not going to be more aggressive, it's not going to be more mulching, it's just going to be a good cut, right? So level's probably not a bad place to run it.
Okay.
There are some grease points. So there's a grease point. There's grease points on the drive shaft, and there's a grease point here for the tail wheel.
Okay.
So we've got our checking our oil. We've got our tail wheel. While we're back here, the fluid. You see, it's got this little guard. It's got that red sight glass, right? So you see it clear back up in there. See right there.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of hard to see because it's got that guard on it, so you don't break it, right?
Yeah.
It's a sight glass, and so as long as you've got red fluid in that eyeglass, you're good, right?
Okay. All right.
So moving forward, let's talk a little bit about all of the pivot points of the loader will have a grease zerk, right?
Yes.
Anywhere it pivots, you're going to have a grease zerk. So grease zerk, grease zerk, grease zerk. About every 8 hours of use is good. I've got the owner's manual in my truck, which I'll give you, and it'll give you the detail of how much to grease it. Okay. We don't want to over grease it, but we do want to grease it up good.
Yeah, sure.
You're also going to have some grease points at the pivot for the axle, and then your linkage for your steering, right?
Okay.
And I think there's not one on here, but there's some on the pivots, and I think actually they've got some remote mounted grease zerks on this. But while we're here, let's talk about the hood. And I did stop and fill it up with fuel for you, so at least you got the full first tank on us. So popping the hood, we're going to check our oil over here. It's going to be back behind here. There's a little wire.
Oh, I see it.
You see it? Okay, yeah, little wire. You're just going to pull that out and check your oil.
Okay.
We got your oil filter and fuel filter. So it's got a pre-filter here.
Does this? I didn't ask. Does this one tell you when it needs to be changed or any of that?
Yeah, it's going to tell you when to do your maintenance.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll tell you when to do your maintenance.
Okay.
So you've got two filters, and we sell a kit, right? So the kit comes with everything you need but the transmission fluid, right? So it's going to come with engine oil, it's going to come with all the filters, and then you just need the hydraulic, the transmission fluid, okay. And just a complete kit at that point. So we've talked a little bit about the skid steer quick attach. Remember, just every pivot is going to have a grease zerk. So you've got the skid steer quick attach. So if you ever need a set of pallet forks or anything, we can set you up with that. Okay. You've got the radiator overflow right here, so that's where you're going to check to make sure that your radiator is full. We've also got these handy screens, I think, on the other side here. So these screens will pull out.
Keeping the radiator.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
So that's going to, in fact, there's probably should have already pulled it out once, but anyway, so you got two half screens there, and that just helps you keep that radiator clean. So moving around, we've got a front axle dipstick. It's going to take SAE 90 weight. It's a gear loop, right? We also carry that and whatnot. So everything looks good there. We've done our service, we kind of did that portion of it. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. And
awesome.
So I think it's kind of ready to roll. We've talked about the PTO shaft, talked about some of the safety features and things. Obviously you got your seat belt and all.
So PTO speed.
So yeah, and it'll talk about that in the operator's manual, but it'll tell you what PTO speed to be running. I was thinking, and it will also give you a light when it's on. And it'll tell you that is on. But in the manual, and I want to say it's around 2,700 on this, but I need to double check that. Yeah, so to run 540, right?
Okay.
To run 540, it's got to be X amount here. But you're also going to kind of get it.
But you don't have to adjust it separately. On the Kubota, I had to adjust it separately.
The speed?
Yep.
Oh, I'll be done. No, so it's all going to be just completely dependent upon the throttle.
Okay.
But what you're going to find is none of your implements are really super dependent upon running right at 540. Will you be able to go out and shred at 450? Yes. Will it do as good or as much of a job? No. So you'll want to run a little faster. But your tiller, you might find that you can run that a little slower. Or you might find you run a little faster, and you're going to be fine there. Okay. The key thing is we don't want to run much over 540, right? And the book will talk about exactly at what point to set it. There's not a little mark.
There's not a mark, yeah.
No.
Okay.
So obviously we've got lights here. So we got headlights and all that. Those are all through this, and you get turn signals. Okay. All through here. I think for the most part that's it.
And the most important thing, my drink holder.
You've got your drink holder, right? And your cigarette lighter in case you need to charge your cell phone or your camera while you're out there.
Okay.
One other thing is you do have this little toolbox. It's kind of hard to get to, so I don't know what you're gonna do with it. Yeah. But I just want you to know it's there. I hide keys in it.
That's a good idea.
So if I'm ever having to, you know, service the tractor and having to leave it outside the gate, well, I shouldn't say that on your on your video, but anyway. So there is that little toolbox there.
Okay.
This is obviously to hold your top link, right? So everything is good there. The little jam nut's going to lock your top link. And there are some adjustments down here. So the cool thing is he should have already got the adjustments. He left a little bit of slack, which is good.
Slack
these are tensioners. They basically keep your sway bars more or less.
Okay.
So that they keep, but the good thing is with this, you've only got to adjust it once, right? And then it's good.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be good. It looks like there's just a little bit of slack, which is what we want to see. We don't want to see it tight, but with a little bit of slack there.
Okay.
And so yeah, you should be good. If you need any parts for the shredder or anything, you let us know.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think you're kind of ready to roll.
I think it is good to go.
There is one thing that I did notice. So it looks like the one thing my mechanic did forget to do was check the tension on these bolts. So I'm missing a nut. It fell off, right? So I'm gonna have to send you a bolt. He checked everything but the quick hitch. So, and I don't know if you've got some wrenches, but we might put a little tighten on that one. I can get you a nut for this and mail it to you. It'll still work without it, no problem. The thing is, it won't keep it rigid, right?
Yeah.
Which is somewhat tough, you know, as far as when we let it down. Oh, you know what we did? We tightened this knob down too far, and so now it's. So, let's definitely get this tight. With the bolt that we have here, and you'll still be good to run the tractor. We just want to check that. We should have tightened it down. That's what I was talking about that. But anyway,
Okay.
What other questions do you have?
I'll probably have a lot of questions once I actually start using it, but right now, you know, it's just getting familiar with it and how it works, and
yeah, go play with it.
All the parts and stuff go together and work together.
And of course, you can drop your roll bar if you need to get it in the barn, like we talked about.
Yeah.
It's real simple. Just fold the pins and fold it down.
Okay. I'll probably end up getting a canopy for it. I started to call and have you guys bring one, but
okay.
I may end up getting one in the summer heat.
Yeah, let us
Might be
know.
nice to have some shade.
Let us know.
What's the bar that's sticking out right here in the front of the?
Oh, so yeah, good question, right? So what that does is that will lock your lever.
So you can't move it.
Right, so you can't move it. So let's say you're roading it down the road and you just want to lock it out so you don't accidentally bump it.
Yeah.
You can lock it out.
Okay.
But otherwise it stays in this little position right here. Trying to think, so there's also display button which will tell you the trip as far as how many hours it's run. I think you can reset it by pushing and holding it, and so it resets the trip. So if you want to keep track of how many hours you're doing at a time, you just do that. So we flip back to here, it says 4.0 hours, which is how many hours are on the tractor. You go to trip at 0, right?
Okay.
So now it's going to count. So if you ever want to keep track of your hours, you can do that. You may never need to, but there it is.
All right.
Like I said, it's full of fuel, so you've got some time to go play.
A little bit. And
it's a little muddy, but
yeah, well, it's actually not too bad when I get on the grass right back there, so I may try the mower out and see how that goes.
okay.
If you will,
Let me get you.
so why don't you tell our viewers where they can get a tractor, where you guys are located, how to contact you, and what you guys do.
So I'm Nick Pomeroy with PR Equipment. We're based just about 8 miles east of Corsicana, here in Texas. So I don't know where you might be viewing from, but we're just about 8 miles east of Corsicana. We cover a pretty large swath. We have customers, you know, within an hour is best. You know, it's always important to kind of get build a relationship with your local dealer, because that's who you're going to turn to if you ever need any service or anything like that. So it makes sense. We're about 45 minutes from here. Not too bad. It's a pretty short drive, but we are a Yanmar dealer. We also sell Rhino attachments, so you probably saw the tiller coming off. It's actually a Rhino Rebel tiller. It's a very heavy-duty tiller, and we really like it. That's why we set him up with that one. We're a Titan attachments dealer, which they make some fantastic implements at affordable prices. So the box blade and the shredder are going to be Titan implements. And of course the Yanmar tractor, and we're really happy with the Yanmar tractors in terms of quality and in terms of power and just the fit and finish. It's just a really well engineered tractor. So he picked out the 235. It's a 35 horsepower tractor with about 28 horsepower at the PTO. It comes with the YL310 loader. It's a very capable loader with about 1,300 pounds of lift capacity. All the Yanmar tractors are going to be 4-wheel drive. So it's going to be a really good setup for you. I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see what you do. I'm going to start following your YouTube channel because now I'm interested.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to seeing what all kind of stuff you guys get to doing with it. And if you need any attachments, of course, just give us a call. But if you also have any questions, you know, you got my cell phone number, so just call me anytime you need me.
I will. All
right.
Nick, thank you very much.
Hey,
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Pleasure.
So I'm going to get to the operator's manual.
Okay.
I've got all that stuff in my truck, and I'll be right back.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks.